ASL fans, we are here with the one and only Christian Philly, and no Panda today, just Philly. Thanks for joining us. We've got a cool show for you today, breaking down everything in the league. Again, with one of the most celebrated voices in the league. So thanks for coming on.
No, I'm thrilled. Always happy to be here. Como Stars love you guys. And when the MASL's all-time assist leader gives you a call and asks you to be a guest on his show, how can one say no?
Well, that's how I call. When I call, I say, "Hi, this is Nick Pereira, the all-time assist leader." That's like my intro.
And the fact is, you're not even in the top 10 for games played. That's what makes it even better.
Hey, you know what we should do is I'll go to the bathroom really quick. Why don't you lay out my stats for me, and then when I come back, just let me know, and I'll jump back in.
Well, for the Iberian Brickhouse, it's got to be done.
Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you coming on. Obviously, we're going to break down everything this week. We did a 3 p.m. show today because at 5 we got some games going on. So we wanted to make sure we could get this in, get everybody their content, and then they could go on and enjoy a nice evening of MASL soccer. Which game are you watching tonight?
Well, the game I'm obviously going to be tuning into would probably be the Blast in Utica City. That's going to be in about an hour. And then, of course, I'm going to be going back and forth between the Comets and the Sockers. I mean, the Blast are running a 9-game winning streak. The Sockers on a 10-game winning streak. The Comets on a 3-game winning streak. Utica FC on a 2-game winning streak. Somebody's streak is going to end. I got multi-screens. It's never a matter of favoritism. It's a matter of how many screens can I get on simultaneously.
I've got to figure out whether I could get Bluey turned off in time to start one of the games, or whether I've got to watch a Disney Channel movie. It's hard to find. Multi-screens for me means the kids are watching something and I'm trying to binge watch an MASL game. So that's a different kind of multi-screen situation. But yeah, I'll be tuning in to see kind of what's going on. Obviously, the Utica City team, as it is today, without Kelvin, with Kelvin, it's been kind of an interesting statistic. And obviously the numbers he's been putting up this season are nothing short of a joke. So I'm just going to see kind of what that looks like. Baltimore has always been defensively very strong. So I'm curious to see as whether he can have the kind of night that he's been having in that facility.
It's a walking video game, Nick. I mean, it's like playing FIFA on easy with the way he scores goals. Yeah. Not only is he a goal-scoring machine, what I love about him is he's such a celebrated athlete in Brazil. Anytime the league tags him in social media, you see the numbers. They go through the roof. So there's a nice Brazilian contingency that started to pay attention to this league because of him.
I think the one thing I've seen from Kelvin, and again, there's been some exceptional players in the leagues over the last 10, even in predating MASL. I think the one thing that separates him from what I've seen right now is not his ability to finish, not his ability to assist, not his game IQ. I think it's his fitness and his physical state and his hunger that really separates him. Like, I played with Marcio Leite in Milwaukee when he was second forward and was destroying people. And he would destroy people kind of at will. But physically, he wasn't like a really strong guy. You know, he would kind of get pushed off or defended, or they double. I think what's impressed me so far is Kelvin is running, fighting, battling, slide tackling in the back, blocking shots, turning around, going. I think it's a different kind of hunger that we've seen in a while. The only thing I'll say is that the level of physical investment he's putting into each game when you have a back-to-back weekend is very difficult to replicate. So you look at the Milwaukee weekend, game 1, 8 points. Game 2, 1 point, right? And that's really hard to put in that level of physical investment on a back-to-back weekend, which, by the way, the MASL has lots of, right? And especially depending on who you are in the MASL, you've got a lot more or a lot better than others. I'll leave the comment there before I start getting way too political. But I think that's kind of where I'm curious to see what that looks like as the season progresses. But again, you know, you've got a tagline at the bottom here, Team Pereira against Team Kelvin for the MASL All-Stars. Talk to me a little bit about that, the All-Star game, and kind of what you're expecting there.
Like, first and foremost, I'm beyond thrilled that the All-Star game is back. I loved it back in 2021 when they had it at Cable Dahmer Arena. I mean, that was right before I started doing the broadcast for the then Ontario Fury. And it was a fun way to just get acclimated, to kind of gain some things, see it from a different perspective as opposed to a fan, as somebody who now needs to pay a little bit more attention. I love the All-Star game. And even towards the end, if you recall that they were doing like the live auction stuff with a player's autograph, I have a Charlie Gonzalez jersey
Oh,
that I
cool.
purchased from there. I told them I would put it on the wall. As you can see, I've literally run out of space. I will do that at some point. But the fact that the All-Star game is happening, I love that element of things. I mean, the league wants to grow leaps and bounds. Every big professional sports league, whether it be baseball, whether it be MLS, whether it be hockey, heck, even the minor leagues, they all have All-Star games. No reason why the MASL shouldn't have had one. And you get to showcase some really talented players. Of course, there are some players that are very talented that have been omitted.
Yeah.
We won't necessarily go there. You know, like you said, we keep the politics to ourselves.
Well,
But I'm
I do
excited.
want to.
Golazos. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I do want to address that though, because I saw again. I saw that there was a lot of misconception from fans around the league as to why certain players were not in it. I think I was even having like hate mail from people being like, "I can't believe you didn't pick anybody from the Soccers." Yeah, I think that's Matt Butkeys, one of our longtime Stars super fans. Um, I was getting people being like, "I can't believe Nick didn't pick any Soccers players," and I was like, "I'd love to have Soccers players. We'd love to pick them all." But their team made a decision, I believe, based on travel to Chihuahua and how complicated it is to get to Chihuahua. They didn't feel confident the team could get there in time for a Friday game. The only thing I'll say about the All-Star game that is not super positive right now is the timing of it. For me as a player, I would have given the league a week-long bye, built in a bye. Or in my opinion, it should be like we did it in Cable Dahmer, where it's before the season and then you build it up. It's used as part of a ramp up to the season. So I think the one thing I would say moving forward, hopefully, is that we can build it into part of the schedule, where the schedule is prepared well beforehand, and we can say, let's plan in the All-Star week. And then I think it'll be a lot more successful. I think it'll be a lot more I think the players will have a lot more investment in it, because they'll be like, yes, we're going to fly into Utica on Tuesday, play Wednesday, get out of there ASAP Thursday morning, get home in the afternoon, evening, and play Harrisburg on Friday. And that's not just me. That's also Chris Toth. That's also Dom Francis, Stefan, and Tavernisi, right? So there's going to be a group of us heading back that way. And it's going to be what it is. I'm sure we'll be fine, but it's just added stress to our legs. So
yeah, you said
anyway.
it right there. The last thing you want to do is have anybody like get hurt playing in an All-Star game, something that would have a big impact on the season. No, I mean, I completely agree with you. In midweek, flights out to Utica aren't really, they don't come as a flight from LA to Vegas would.
No.
Let's just put it that way. But it'd be a great venue. I mean, Adirondack Bank Center, a lot of great fans, ruckus environment. You know it's going to be a sellout. Some of the best fans in the league, of course, along with Kansas City, Milwaukee, several other teams. I wish I can go. It's just not easy to get to Utica from LA in the middle of the week.
I'll tell you, I went to the Combine there last year at Utica, and the level of investment from the people, of the fans of that team, is so high. I mean, even for a Combine, it was like through the roof. People were there early. They were watching everything, all the picks. I mean, it was really cool. So I've never played in that arena. It's one of the arenas of the MASL that I haven't played in.
Wow.
It's actually the only arena that I haven't played in. So I'm really excited to play there. And I think that the concept of Team Pereira versus Team Kelvin at first took me a little bit to get on board with, because I was kind of like, I don't get it. And then, you look at the NBA, kind of what the NBA's done with their stuff. And I think it's really cool, very humbling, of course, to be nominated as one of those two. But let's talk about the players that you're going to see, that we're going to see. And like, who are you excited to see? Like, is there a player that you're like, I can't wait to see this person in this environment?
I mean, look, I might be slightly biased, but of course I'm excited to see players like Justin Stinson and Marco Fabian. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a homer. Justin Stinson, after last season, he really blossomed into like an amazing player. He always was, but he had a good season with us. Obviously, we loaned him out to Tacoma. He shined for y'all as well. And then he comes back this season with a hunger that, I can't say I've seen. He's going out there playing two-way, playing aggressively. And I love seeing some of our very own going out there and excelling. And yes, it's a total homery thing to say, but hey, I love my guys, and I just want to see him shine with the rest of them. And Marco, let me tell you, and I'm sure you know this, but I haven't played with him. The thing I love about the guy is he's really good and he's really humble, and I just want to see how he does with some of the other, exceptional talent in the league. It's one thing to go up against a team, but then another thing to go up against a collection of all-stars. And he always says, even still to this day, that he hasn't quite figured out the indoor game yet. But I mean, his stats are there.
He can shoot. He can shoot.
He can definitely shoot. Those one-timers are deadly, man.
Yeah. I think that the exciting part for me I think, is getting that group of players together in an environment that's different than the high competitive, like, I'm not supposed to like you. Like, I don't shake other teams' hands before the whistle. I don't like that. I know why everybody does it. That's not my vibe. I'll shake your hand after the game, hugs, whatever you want after the game. Before, I'm not, don't mess with me. Don't talk to me. I don't want to do that.
I don't recall you doing that as a gaucho either.
Yeah, no, I don't do that to anybody. I actually played against Ian in Milwaukee, whatever that was, a month ago, I think, or whatever it was, 3 weeks ago. And he came up and shook my hand for the game and goes, "I don't shake anybody's hand. I'm just coming to say hi to you. This is not, I don't roll like this." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't roll like this either, Ian. Like, okay, I'll shake your hand and you go that way, I'll go this way." So I think being in the environment with all those guys where you can kind of just have a laugh and enjoy soccer, and hopefully it's a stress-free game and it's not like a bunch of guys trying to figure out who can get on the field more. It's going to just be like, hey, let's just have fun and kind of go out there and play. I think that'll be really fun. And I think that it'll be really cool to see the league come together. Like that's the big one for me of the MASL Combine. The big win for me is that all the coaches are there and you can have a coaching staff moment. And I think this will be a player's moment, of like, we're all here together. Let's make this fun. Let's enjoy it. I'm excited. I picked Stinson Justin right away, or early on at least, because I knew Everton loves Justin. I had to get him on my team too. But I'm excited to see kind of what that looks like. And I think it'll be really fun. I think the fans that are there are going to get a show. So that's what we're here for.
I mean, I'd say if there was a betting line on this, I don't know if there is, but I'm anticipating 20 goals between the two sides.
I hope so. Yeah.
I mean, y'all are hella competitive, and while it might be fun in games, the minute that whistle goes off, the gloves are off, man. It's gonna it's gonna do its thing.
Well, we had some side bets going about what was going to happen. Everton and I had a little side bet going, so I'm sure we'll have to go make sure that gets taken care of when we're out in Utica. And yeah, you're right. We're all laughing about it now, but the second that the referee blows the whistle, everyone's gonna be like, "Okay, this is fun, right? But let's not lose." Yeah.
It's time for a little bit of
No, I don't think there'll be any of that.
Well, I meant that competitively, not the kind of little, the competitive juice fire kind.
We've had a little bit of that, so we've had a little bit of that. I got to plug February 5-pack special, guys. So Stars fans, we've got a February 5-pack, which is all the home games in February, 20% discount. You can bundle them together. Get your tickets now at tacomastars.showware.com. So you can buy all 5 games, get them knocked out all at once, and you get 20% off at the door. Crazy part of the schedule for us now for the Stars, 7 home games in a row. First time, I think, in my career that's ever happened. Again, 7 out of 24 games. That's a huge portion of your games. So that's a big part of our schedule. And obviously, it's very easy to look at our schedule and think that it's been an unsuccessful year so far. And our record is not positive and good. So I'm not trying to paper over that. But I think when you look at what we've been through in terms of the schedule that's been presented to us so far, this is the part of the schedule we feel really happy with, that we're actually going to be able to make up some ground that we lost early on. So that's where we are.
I mean, 2-1-1 at home versus 0-6-2 on the road. I mean, y'all do well. Y'all perform in front of the home crowd. So yeah, I bet you're not going to be too angry at playing a game at home and then less than 24 hours later playing another game in Ontario.
Yeah, that was tough. I mean, that's tough for anybody. We've got one more of those, and that's with KC at the end of the year. We play KC at home, and then the next day, I believe, we're all in Kansas City to play them. But those are tough. I mean, we have historically been a home-heavy team, and again, having not just away games, but away games with the travel. So we go to Chihuahua and then we play Ontario. And we get into Ontario at 2 a.m. in the morning to play them the next day because the only flight out of Chihuahua is an 11 p.m. flight.
Oh, yep.
We play Chihuahua to go to San Diego. We go, we go to San Diego. It's been so tough. Of our first 12, we've had 4 against San Diego, 3 against Chihuahua, 3 against Empire, 1 against Milwaukee. I think that's it, right?
And like Matt said, the games have been very competitive despite all the crazy travel. I'll never bet against the Tacoma Stars. Y'all have the chemistry. You've been playing with one another for so long. I mean, y'all are family at this point, so you guys know each other's reactions and habits. And then you add on a full. You get Steph back from suspension. Obviously, Steph is a very polarizing player within his own right, but the guy can make things happen too. So I never bet against the Stars. And as you notice, like above my shoulder there, look what's on top of that heap.
Where is it?
Oh, right.
There's a little scarf right there. I didn't even see it.
Yeah.
That's there, but hidden. That's like kind of hidden.
It's subtle, of course, but I mean, it's there.
Is that so that when you're interviewing for the Empire Strikers, you just kind of lift one shoulder up and make sure it's covered?
Well, as you can see, yes, there are like several underneath it as well. So
yeah, exactly. It just happens to be at the top. That's what you did right before you came on. You just, I better put this on top so I can make a reference there.
Yeah, exposed behind the curtains. Exactly what happened.
So talk about the All-Star game a little bit about. Give me a player that you think is gonna tear it up. Like, give me 2 or 3 guys that you think that to look out for.
I mean, we said it. I mean, I think he's a magician with his feet. Like I love Justin. I think Justin's a great freaking player. Getting his teammates involved, getting himself out of trouble. And yes, homery, but I'm trying to think of somebody else that.
Who's winning the Capelli Award? Who's winning the MVP package? Who's taking that home?
Oof, that's a darn good question. I don't know. Let me ask you your thoughts on that one. I'll raise your question within a question myself.
Yeah, I think my opinion is I would say it's going to be a player that you don't expect.
Okay.
I think it's not going to be Kelvin or I. I think it'll be somebody who's going to, on the night, care just a little bit more than the other guys.
Like a Mario Alvarez, perhaps?
Yeah, I would think it's going to be somebody in the attacking half. I don't see a player, if we're trying to put up 20 goals, unless a defender goes off for 3 or 4. I don't see anybody. It could happen. I think it'll be somebody like Zach Reggett or Rion, or somebody who like goes off in a game where all of a sudden you're like, oh, this guy just knocked in 6 goals. I guess he's probably the MVP. I think it's going to be one of those.
I mean, you look at the list of players that were chosen originally, and you're talking about the attacking ones. It wouldn't be a surprise if Zach goes off. I mean, he did win the Golden Boot last year, for Christ's sakes. Obviously, we know Kelvin could do his thing. We obviously know you can do your thing, but if we're going to look at the attackers that could make a difference, you brought his name up earlier, representing Harrisburg. How about Dom the Dominator Francis?
I mean, I think it's going to be hard to make the power play team and hard to make the restart team, but whichever team happens to get the 5 guys on the floor for that segment, somebody from that segment's going to get some goals, because I think that the level of like our defender's going to slide out and block, like probably not. So some guys are going to get some shots off that they are. I don't know. I think my MVP predictions right now are going to be that it's not going to be. I don't think it'll be Kelvin or I, and I don't think it'll be. Maybe just not Kelvin or I.
All right, so I'm gonna go on record, and I'm gonna say I called his name. I'm gonna say Dom Francis is gonna have a very big game. He was contemplating hanging up the boots, wasn't he? And then I don't know. I could have sworn I saw something on Facebook about that at some point. Maybe I'm crazy. I've seen a lot of things. When you get up to the 4th floor in terms of your age, maybe you start forgetting, convoluting things. But I'm going to go out on the record and say Dom Francis is going to have a brilliant All-Star game.
I would love that. He's on my team. So and also he's playing us on Friday, so he'll be taking some extra shifts at the All-Star game, getting himself nice and tired, running a couple extra shifts. So Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a fun game. I think that I'm hopeful that it is a high-scoring game for the fans at home. And then there's also a All-Star skills challenge, I believe. There's a skills challenge. We'll see how that goes.
I mean that's always the fun stuff. I mean, if you look at baseball, everybody, people are more excited about the home run derby. Or if you look at the NBA, obviously, it's all about the
Yeah,
dunk
slam dunk.
and the
Yeah.
three-point contest. And some of the other stuff. I mean, that's some of the nuances that I'm glad they're bringing to this. So they had the All-Star game back in 2021. Now they've got another one, beefing it up with different kinds of things. That's the part I'm a little fuzzy with, though. I don't know who's competing in any of the skills
Yeah, I
contests.
don't know that it's done yet. I mean, listen, we're gonna take care of our games this weekend, and then we'll find out what it is when All-Star Week kind of rolls around, and we'll figure out what it goes to. I'm excited it's back. It should have, in my opinion, it should have never gone away once that first one
100%.
went. We should have had one, year in, year out. But talk a little bit about maybe your Empire strikers and some players that are coming out this year that are having some big parties. We saw a debut the other night. Um, Talk a little bit about some people that maybe weren't getting as much love last year and are having good seasons so far. Are there any players that are jumping out at you? Obviously, the Justin Stinsons and Marco Fabians, but are there players that are kind of jumping out at you as players that were not massively crazy league contributors and that are not having good seasons?
All right. I mean, keep in mind that we did a very big overhaul from last season to this season. But one player that he came on really strong this past weekend that had one of his breakout years last year was Alan Perez. I don't care who you are. When you score a hat trick against a team as talented as Chihuahua, that's impressive. He had his first hat trick just the other day, and then prior to that on Sunday, he also scored against the Savage. So I think Alan Perez is really, in what I believe his fourth season in the league, he's really starting to take care of some business. Randy Martinez, every time I see this kid, I always congratulate him, knowing where he was starting things off, going for that tryout, playing in that USA Mexico game that took place at Toyota Arena, barely getting minutes. Last year he had up and down some struggles, but really getting significant minutes, scoring goals, getting the opportunity to start. He's a testament of heart and hard work, how sometimes it could trump a talent. I mean, what's the saying? Hard work wins when talent falls asleep, or whatever the case may be. I
Hard work
love.
beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
There you go. Like I messed that one up, but I love how he's come along. And if you look at some of our rookies as well, like Munir Alami. Munir Alami's kind of come out of nowhere. I mean, that first goal that he had down at Corner Sport Arena off the assist from Quentin Swift, a hell of a header to start his scoring career. I think, a little bit more time, he's going to be seasoned as well. And then the signing that we just had the other day, the Chilean, the Leonardo Espinosa, the Chilean. Look, I got to be honest with you. Like, up until that game, I didn't even know that we had this. So I was talking to Jeff. He goes, "You got what you need about our new signing." What new signing? But I mean, the cheeky goal that he had, it was creative. And just even looking at him, he's a big, strong kid. And you could see how he was pushing around the Savage defenders. So looking forward to seeing, what he can do. So, I mean, those are a couple of players. And of course, the younger keepers. I mean, Brian Orozco. I mean, that goal that he had 10 seconds into a shift a couple of games ago, it's just impressive. Great shot stopper, great on his feet. And, Onu Obasi's system is very well suited for him. And same with Brandon Gomez. He's found the back of the net as well. We just need Clayson DeLima to score now. We've got a trifecta of keepers scoring goals.
Yeah, I mean, that's, it's rare that a goalie gets that many looks at goal, but again, with the system that they're playing right now, that it's going to happen. Obviously, the biggest plug that I should have been plugging is we've got a game tomorrow against Milwaukee at 6:05 at home, back at Showware. So anybody who has not gotten their tickets, you need to get those now. And it's going to be quite an affair tomorrow night, and it's going to be really fun to get back at home, some home cooking after a lot of time on the road. 6:05 p.m. Saturday night, tomorrow night against the Milwaukee Wave. And if you missed our first game against the Milwaukee Wave, it was explosive. Explosive? Is that a good word?
Yeah, it was a heck of a slobber knocker. Let's just put it that way.
Perfect. That's difficult enough word that it could mean anything. It was actually a fantastic game all the way through. In terms of if you're a fan and you showed up for that game, you got a good show. And if you stayed after, you probably got a little bit of a show as well. But it'll be a really fun game tomorrow against Milwaukee, and we're excited to play against them again. Again, an overtime game. our 5th of the season, or I don't know how many overtime games we've gotten at this point. But yeah, I mean, I think spicy, that's a great word.
That's a
Yeah,
good word,
spicy is
yes.
a good word. Yeah.
Caliente.
Perfect. So yeah, obviously we're excited for that game. The last thing is, as Pete's putting on there right now, we've had so many youth groups hit us up to try to come out on the floor and be part of it. If you want to have your youth team come out, check this out right here, right now. Send it to pete@tacomastars.com. He'll hook you guys up. We have a lot of like group discounts for big teams. And as I said, Valor's come, Nortac, WP. We've had so many clubs from the area come and support the Stars over the season. And in our 7-game home stretch, we're going to really need all of you guys to come out there too. Yeah, I mean, I think the indoor game in terms of younger players coming on is always a conversation that we broach on this podcast, is like, how does that happen? What happens that a player is going to come on the scene and explode? We've had a player this year in Kai Briscoe, who's kind of our younger guy, who's really come out and had a fantastic start to his indoor career. He's obviously a seasoned player, played at UW for years, won a USL2 championship with Ballard FC here at the USL2, and is a really high caliber player, and he's just taken to it so well. And I think that the interesting part with younger players, again, Randy Martinez is a good shout as somebody who's kind of come out quietly, come in and done his work. I think Andy Reyes personally is having one of his better seasons in terms of what I've seen from Andy. I think it's the play suits him, and he's done very, very well.
Yeah, it leads to strikers and assists. But I mean, even like last season was his best offensively in the league. He's aging like a fine wine. So I wouldn't say he impressed me more leaps and bounds. I just think he's picking up right where he left off as a member of the Outlaws last year.
Yeah, I think that's fair. What I would say is, and this is kind of an interesting topic too about indoor soccer, is sometimes the stats are a representation of what you're seeing on the field. Sometimes they aren't, and I think it's important to distinguish the two. We were laughing about it. The first game of the season that I played was a home game against San Diego. And they gave me star of the match, and I was offensive player of the week. And I actually don't think I played very well at all. And then Chihuahua came to town, and I thought I was way better. I was like, man, I had a good night tonight. But we won the first one. We lost the second one. So I didn't get anything. I wasn't even spoken about in any circle after the Chihuahua game, but I had the same amount of points, and I thought, wow, I played way better. So it is hard. In my opinion, Andy looks more comfortable than he used to. And I think you have to remember that at the Outlaws, it's a smaller stadium, a smaller arena, so points are going to get influxed a little bit based on the size of it.
Yeah,
but I
he's
think
also home, Nick.
It's home. Yeah, for sure. It's home. Yeah, that makes a big difference. In terms of Kai, what we've seen from Kai Briscoe so far is a level of athleticism and hunger and desire that is like through the roof. And I think the most impressive part with him is generationally, younger players don't want to be told now what they're not good at. And I think that's like a larger social discussion maybe, but people that are younger now don't want to be told they're not good at certain things. And I think he's like not only wants to be told, but is like asking to be told what he's not good at, and then taking that information and processing it and doing something positive with it, which to me is the ultimate bit that's missing for a lot of players. Is, you know, one of my coaches used to tell me, you either don't know what you're doing wrong, or you know and you don't care, or you know and you don't want to care. So if you don't know and you're asking questions, you can get better. If you know and you're unable to fix the problem, then that's where your ceiling is. And if you know and if you don't care, then you're stuck there, right? Like you're stuck. And I think that's where you see players like Kai, for example. We think he's going to have an unbelievable career. Or Tyler John this year, who's taken his game and kind of really elevated it. That's where we're going to take these kids, or every team is going to take their kids and teach them how to get better, is once they ask the question of like, how do I get better? And then take that information and process it, as opposed to, I've asked you because you want me to ask you, and now I'm just going to go over there and do whatever I wanted anyway. But again, Empire last year with a ton of young players that got a ton of exposure, right? Like they got games, which is hard to come by in this league.
Yeah, but we also saw how important it was to have some veteran presence as well. You had Last year was challenging. I mean, that's the nicest way I can put it. You had a team of fresh new faces, but that have never played the game. At the same time, head coach Paul Wright's in his first year coaching indoor. And we know how talented of a player he was during his days. I mean, he's got his names in the rafters in San Diego for a reason. But sometimes your ability to play may not necessarily go to your level of being able to tell players what you want. I mean, I look at the NBA, for example, and I think what Michael Jordan tried to coach, right? Or even Isaiah Thomas. These guys are legends, but it didn't necessarily translate as well. So with Paul, I think he had an uphill battle just trying to figure out how to be a coach for the first time in the year and having a bunch of new talented players. But obviously, like, it was a challenging year. Had it not been for Marco Fabian, we might have not gotten the highlights that we did get. And I thank him for that, because my voice got a little louder anytime he scored a goal, because anytime the league would post it, it would go a little viral. So, Marco, thank you very much for that. But now you can see the difference from the team last year and this year, and that's because you have players that are a little more seasoned. We brought back George De Leon. We brought back Emmanuel Aguirre. We brought back Andy Reyes. I mean, these are guys that have been in the league for a while. Bert, I'm exactly. I mean, one of the best defenders this league's ever had. And you saw the difference. I mean, quickly, we more than doubled the amount of wins that we had last season. We won 3 games last year, with 2 of those being against St. Louis. This year, even though we've lost a couple of games as of late, tough when you're playing Chihuahua, but this is a team that I believe if they don't make the playoffs, that's an ultimate failure. I think this is a team that can and should make the playoffs. I think they're too talented to be on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I think what's an interesting concept about that is man, it's first off for Paul, it's a hard league to come into because of the quality of last year was conference. So you look at conference, right, and you go, okay, San Diego Soccer's not going to lose a lot of games. Chihuahua, not going to lose a lot of games.
Y'all were hot last season.
Tacoma, last year we were flying, so not going to lose a lot of games. And then you've got the Dallases and the Outlaws that were Outlaws last year. Were not going to lose a lot of games either.
Yeah, they were good last season.
And Dallas was not great, but still, there's not a lot of teams that you're going to beat up on, right? And when it's done with a conference like that, and again, without going too hard on the schedule, I don't understand why we would need to play San Diego 6 times and Empire 5 times now that the conferences are gone. But I think that that's really tough. And then the other thing I'll say that I think is really tough is when your team in indoor, it's a momentum sport. When the momentum is down, it's like you're playing against the opposition +5.
Yeah.
It's not just that. I mean, Ontario Fury in their previous installment, had what was it, 2 seasons in a row that they were like in the playoffs with 10 games to go.
Yeah.
Done, dusted, like seal it up, and then didn't make the playoffs, I think 2 years in a row with that same sort of record where it was like it was over and done with. And then things started going down, down, down. So when things are down in indoor, they're down. And when you're up, you're kind of up. Like last year for us, we felt like in our locker room, when we were winning games, it was impossible for us to not win games. Like you knew, and I think that's what the really good teams in our league have, is that even when things are going really badly, they're confident that they're going to win that game because some moment will turn in the game for them, which is a really indoor specific thing, because in outdoor soccer that doesn't work like that. It's not like, oh, there'll be a restart at some point, we'll get a top of the box at some point, and in indoor you kind of can. And so I think that's what changes a lot of things. You see San Diego, they're losing with 2 goals to go, they're down 2 goals with 5 minutes to go in the game, and you just kind of know that the chances are they're probably pulling that game out, right? Against Chihuahua the other night, honestly, the game could have gone either way. But you just kind of knew that it probably wasn't going Empire's way. It probably was falling Chihuahua's way. Like you just kind of felt like it was going to go that way. And I think that's the difference between the big teams. And in Monterrey's case last year, that was it. It just every game fell that way, right? You just knew it was going to fall that way. So I think it's tough for Paul and tough coming into the league. But then I think also the players, they got 24 games of like learning. And when you lose, you learn.
Yeah. There was a lot of learning. And to be fair, there were 9 games, especially towards the end, where the strikers were very much involved.
Yeah.
And the scores were really close. So I think they started figuring it out, but it was just that extra oomph, like you were saying, going up against Chihuahua, you guys, San Diego, where you just knew that they were going to pull it out. I mean, we had
Yeah.
some close games against Tacoma last season. We had some
Yeah, I
close
think the
games
last game of the
against San
season,
Diego.
we won in the fourth quarter on a power play.
Yeah. I also
That was
remember the after party at the Ontario Airport Hotel, but we won't go there.
we won't go there either. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think. Listen, from our perspective, the Stars and Empire Strikers have always had good games. It's always been a good game. Even this year, the game that where the score line, the two games in Ontario that the score line has been abundant. Excuse me. It wasn't abundant until 4 or 5 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter. It was within a goal or two, and
Yeah.
then the sixth attacker came out or whatever happened, and then it started getting piled on. But it was always tight neck and neck all the way through until the very end. But yeah, for us, for the Stars, I think tomorrow is a really cool opportunity for us to get back home and sort of reset a little bit of our own emotions, because it's so easy to look at the scores and look at the record and say what a catastrophic failure. But the schedule, as we've seen it, in my opinion, is the hardest I've ever seen from any player. In fact, I know that Pete is doing a statistical analysis of strength of schedule, which I'm really
Oh,
interested to
cool.
look at.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
And I think he's come up with his own metrics of, like, he was explaining it to me the other day. It was something about the hardest possible place to play is a back-to-back weekend on the second night of on the second game of a back-to-back at Chihuahua. That's the hardest possible strength of schedule, right? Like, the hardest possible thing you can do is play Chihuahua on the back end away from home. And then everything is ranked down from there. So playing, Tacoma away from home on the back end would be less because Chihuahua has more wins and whatever. Yeah,
This is
tricky.
going to be fun. That Pete Richmeyer, that mad scientist behind
I
the scenes.
know.
I love it. I can't wait for this one.
I'm pumped to see it. And he said, Nick, your mind is going to be blown. And I said, I'm ready. Like, blow it away. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about the games today, and let's talk a little bit more about it, and then I'll let you go because it's we got games to go watch, and I know you've got pages of notes you've got to start studying and preparing yourself for these games.
That
but-
and college basketball. I've had 22 broadcasts since January 1st, Nick. Like I've been working.
Well, and the news that the unconfirmed news that you're going to be working at TST, right?
Fingers crossed that we can remove the "un" from that.
Well, let's see. I think that you'd be great for that. It would very much help the MASL players have some representation, where some of the announcers didn't know who a lot of players were, didn't know what the MASL was, didn't know what a lot of stuff was going. So we'd love to have a familiar voice helping us out at TST as well. Who's winning tonight? Blast and Utica, Sockers and Comets.
See, this is where it gets tough to be on these things, because I have friends everywhere, and I know I'm going to get my phone blowing up after I give the results here. I'm going to go out on a limb and be fair and say both home teams win, because they've got the sixth man in the house. And we know on Smurf turf, whether you're in upstate New York, whether you're in the Midwest, that these are tough environments to play in. I love the fact that the Sockers are on a 10-game winning streak. Yes, honestly, as a Strikers guy, same. And the same thing with the Baltimore Blast. But all good things must come to an end at some point. I say both home teams get the wins today.
Yeah, I think Utica wins at home, but I actually think the Sockers steal it in Kansas City. I think Kansas City is going to come out hot early, and I think the Sockers are going to probably jump on their backs towards the end of that game and start to ride things out from a technical standpoint. What the Kansas City Comets have that's really different is they've got some runners, and they can work. And I think that the Sockers guys have the level of talent that, like, the players they have that are individually talented enough are different. And I think that that'll eventually overturn it. But let's see. Great matchups, both of them. Great storylines. Baltimore's been working and hustling. I mean, they're working hard. So it'll be a great game across the board either way. So let me do my last plugs, and then I'm going to let you go.
All
Okay.
right. I just want to give a quick shout out, if you don't mind. Philip
Go.
Ejimadu on Kansas City. I have a soft spot in my heart for Philip, Nick. As you know, he played at LAFC. The minute I got involved in sports media, he was the first professional athlete I ever had the opportunity
No
to
way.
interview. So it didn't work out for him at LAFC, even though he was loved by everybody. I actually have his jersey in my closet too. I'm so happy that he's come along as strong as he has, putting up some really good numbers for Kansas City. So I had to shout him out. I'm so proud of him.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He's been so good this year. A funny story, and I'm gonna probably put myself in trouble here, but a player of mine about 3 years ago called me and said, "Man, I've got this goalie. He's playing with me outdoor right now, and he's really good." And at the time, we had Danny and Chris, and I was like, "Listen, man, of all the positions that I think we're set at,
Yeah,
we're good with the goalies, right?" And then I think it was 2 years ago when he came into the league, my friend's like, "Oh, that's the dude I'm talking about," or it was last year, whenever it was. That's the dude. And he didn't play much, if at all. And then this year he's like really tearing it up. And so this teammate of mine is like,
Hmm.
you know, told you the guy was good. And
Kid,
so I have to eat crow every time. But again, good for him. That's a fantastic career he's putting together over there. And I'm sure they just absolutely love it. Kansas City's had a plethora of incredible goalkeepers over their time.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that he's excited to be sitting in that net and the level of fan engagement he's getting.
Oh yeah, and he gets to learn from Neto. He's working with Alan Mayer and Kenny. Like he's getting top-notch training and being where he's at. And speaking of Danny, when are we seeing the statue outside of the building?
Man, he deserves a statue. If there's one guy, if there's one guy in the Pacific Northwest for the Stars that, in my opinion, embodies all that is the Stars, like that's the dude.
Oh yeah, from the demeanor, the hair, the way. Yeah, it's nothing but love. I haven't spoken to Danny in such a long time. I hope he hears this. Nothing but love, my man.
Yeah, he's a guy who, like I said, I don't know what the Stars situation is for retiring jerseys, but if there's a jersey that should be retired, that's the one. We don't have players wear 24. Like this year, somebody asked for it, and I was like, I don't think so. And we haven't like officially done that. I don't know if that's something we can do. I don't know how that works, but if there is a jersey that needs to be retired, that's the one.
Well, next number 10, right? Or 9, 10. Shoot, why am I forgetting?
10.
Thank you. You've worn 9 before in games.
No, but
USA.
No, I think somebody gave me a 9 one time. Oh, it was when I went to Ontario because Justin wanted 10. I had to wear 9.
Yeah, all right. I know I wasn't crazy. I'm older, but I'm not crazy.
But I've played in so many franchises that it's more difficult for me. It's harder for me. I've played in Ontario, San Diego twice. And I think with Danny, obviously he had his career in Kansas City, but I think that when he came back for the MASL with the Stars, I think that was like he's been there the whole way through. So for me, I think that jersey is the one.
Well, anyway, whenever he gets a chance, him and I got to do a little bit of this together, a jam session.
He can do that for sure.
As long as the parrot is involved too.
Yeah, I think he's got a new parrot.
All right.
Well, let me do my plugs here for the Stars. Okay, number one, tomorrow night, 6:05 p.m., guys, at ShowWare. Get your tickets now. We're really excited to see everybody. There's a 5-pack that starts out for this game. It's game 1. If you want to buy those tickets while you're at the stadium, you could access that code. But if not, just go grab it down here at TacomaStars.showware.com and get your 5-pack bundled together. Get your 20% discount now. If you don't already have season tickets or don't already have tickets sorted, get your bundle now. Our reserve team is actually going down to Bellingham tomorrow in what is going to be a belter in the whistle. And that'll be an exciting game. So that'll be happening at tomorrow evening as well. But 6:05 p.m. for the Stars game at ShowWare, taking on the Milwaukee Wave. First time they've been back in Kent since before I played on the team. So the year I came to the team, they had played them early in the season. So it's 2017, of course. Thank you very much. So it's been a while since they've come to Kent, and it'll be a really fun game for all the fans in attendance. If you have gotten your 5-game bundle, if you've come to tomorrow night's game, Wednesday night in Utica will be the second All-Star game in history of the MASL. I'm just saying first because the original one was handled during COVID, and it was kind of that, are we going to have a season type of thing? But this is a big one. It's going to be handled in Utica, Team Kelvin against Team Pereira, and we're really excited to put on a game, and I think it's going to be super fun for all the fans in attendance. That will be live on CBS Golazo. So that'll be really cool. And if you haven't been watching the CBS Golazo broadcast, they are awesome. They're super cool. It's amazing to turn off Champions League and turn on MASL. What a cool thing for us as a league. And what good promotion and exposure for our players to be in that ambit. So again, a big week of soccer coming to you starting with tomorrow night. And then if you guys are tuning into other MASL action, in 15 minutes, the Baltimore Blast is taking on the Utica City FC. Are they the Riggies this week? No.
I love the Riggies. I don't think they
I
are.
don't.
You don't?
Think it's crazy
fun.
that a team can
Sell
change
more
their
jerseys. Money.
I think it's crazy that teams can change their names. I think that's insane, but whatever. Power to them. If they have people that are watching it and they're all about it, awesome.
You know how big Riggies are in that part of the world.
You know what? There you go. Tacoma Estrellas. That's what
Yeah,
we're gonna change it. We're gonna have Latin Heritage Night is gonna be all Spanish. We're gonna turn into Las Estrellas. Yeah, no, I know. I know it's a massive, massive marketing push for them, and they do really well over the weekend. So good for them. But I think they're back to Utica City FC this weekend. So that's happening in 15 minutes. An hour after that, San Diego Sockers versus Kansas City Comets. And a great night of MASL tonight, and followed up by a big night tomorrow night as well. So from me and Nick Pereira and the Tacoma Stars, thank you guys so much for tuning in. See you all tomorrow at 6:05. And Philly, thank you for coming. Thank
Happy
you
to be
for
here as always.
bantering with me. And it's awesome to see your hair be a neutral kind of color this time.
Yeah, now that I've gone back to the 9 to 5, which is this is how much I love you. I literally sprinted outside of the office to get into this, so this is why I'm dressed a little more conservatively. I don't think they frowned upon that pink and purple hair. I can't get away with it in a corporate setting anymore.
Understood.
Philly just being Philly by himself doesn't pay the bills.
Just being you doesn't pay bills.
No, it's me requiring not sell out, but buy in outside of here in a 9 to 5 culture that pays my mortgage here in Los Angeles. As you know, not very cheap living in LA.
No. I've been trying to get people to hire me just to be me, and that doesn't work so well.
Well, they did hire you in the NWSL to be you, and I think you had some success there.
Some success, but then I think maybe I was a bit too much of me, and then they said, okay, I think we've had enough of that. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you all for supporting the Stars, the MASL, and all the voices and talents in it. Have a great Friday. Enjoy yourself. Stay safe. It's cold out there, and go Stars.